said tonight, and I continue to be inspired by my sisters, my Madam President, my President of my board, my Vice President of my board, my blood sister, my girlfriend Julie, and my cousin Val back there. And so many people. Reverend Dr. Crawford has been such an inspiration to me. So, I got the wrong code. Let me get this straight here. I'm a little nervous here. Here we go. Reverend Jones, I want to say that, here I am, Lord, send me. Send me to the capital city of the first state to be a blessing, to be a transformer, to be a servant, to be an educational advocate. Each day in America, a child is killed by abuse or neglect. Each day in America, children, teenagers are killed with a gun. Each day in America, children are arrested for violent crimes. Public school students are corporately punished. Babies are born without health insurance. Children are confirmed and arrested and neglected. Public school students are suspended. So send me here, Lord, so that I may be that light to encourage others, to pick up a collective moral imperative to focus on our schools, our children, and our future. Now abide, faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love. I bring you greetings from the capital city in the first state. And I want to say that I want to take this advantage to acknowledge my family, of course, my village, my friends, my board members, our public servants, the members of the Central Delaware branch of the NAACP, our Madam President and Executive Board. Yes, clap. And all of the NAACP branches that are here represented tonight. There is a Sankofa spirit here in Central Delaware. And it resonates in each of us. We must remember just how far we have come and how much more we have to move forward. I can't think of a better way to celebrate this year's Freedom Fund than to illuminate the dream of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as we celebrate the moment that launched a movement. One goal I have tonight is to ensure that each of you understands what a Sankofa is, and I want to make sure that you know that this is not a moment. This is a movement that is very much alive. I want to start by making sure you know this. So I handed out some handouts, they're on your table, and I want you to know what a Sankofa is, the symbol of a Sankofa. So I wanted to bring you an example. So I will start by saying that a Sankofa is a West African word. It is a word that symbolizes a bird that is facing forward, feet facing forward, and the bird is looking back with an egg in his mouth. Or it's the symbol of a heart that is connected. Now, what I learned about the Sankofa symbol is that this symbol was brought here from West Africa. And in my research, I learned that Sankofa symbols made their way here, and they're found in a lot of wrought iron fences, that many of the West African slaves in New Orleans and across the United States. And so you may see that symbol. So today, as we find inspiration in Sankofa, I want to encourage each of you to remember that it is our past history as a nation that continues to challenge our ability to make progress for all people in the present. As we enter into the new digital age, change is constant. It's constant. And so hard, but it's just so hard for people to adapt. And you know, I don't understand, because change is the one thing that's guaranteed. Nothing stays the same. So today I want to urge each person here to never, ever, ever forget the Sankofa, because what it means is looking at our past to create our future, right? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech at the March on Washington, August the 28th, 1963. Now, as we reflect on the movement, my research uncovered that it was labor leaders like A. Philip Randolph and, of course, Roy Wilkins, the executive secretary of the NAACP, and they all played a pivotal role. And I was just listening to Flora earlier when she talked about the NAACP's role in progress in our nation. The movement was a collaborative effort, everyone, and amongst major civil rights leaders of the 1960s were present at that March on Washington. So on August the 28th, 2023, we proudly commemorate 60 years of the continuation of the fight for justice. As we gather today, we are reminded both of the progress made and the work still ahead of us. Touted as one of the most celebrated, it is not, or maybe it is the most celebrated speech of the 20th century. Dr. King's speech, I Have a Dream, illuminated a milestone in our history, one of the transformational moments that launched a movement towards safeguarding not just civil rights, but human dignity, right? For 6 decades, we continue to move forward with Dr. King's dream. His dream forever changed the trajectory of American history. And in his speech, Dr. King challenged the nation to envision a future where all races and religions could come together and aspire to operationalizing freedom and the pursuit of equal opportunities for all under the American flag. Not some, all. The March on Washington played a quintessential role in bringing an end to Jim Crow, leading to the passing of several landmark legislative pieces, okay? Legislators, his speech and the movement led to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voters' Rights Act of 1965, and then the Civil Rights Act of 1968. These crowning legislative pieces catapulted us into the 21st century, into a modern day civil rights era. 6 decades after the March on Washington, King's dream lives in each of us. Remembering this, it wasn't a moment, but indeed the beginning of a movement. One that historical day, over 250,000 demonstrators joined the March on Washington in our nation's capital, victoriously serving as the catalyst to ensure that the Kennedy administration would move forward this crucial civil rights legislation. So today, as we gather here in the capital city of the first state, we are poised. We are poised to continue in the spirit of Sankofa as we undeniably accept that the movement is not over. Amen. Yes, King, he had a dream. Now we must act and accept individual and group responsibility for moving that dream forward. Currently, our nation reckons with historic levels of violent hate crimes. Our nation is dealing with threats to our democracy. The recent Supreme Court decision to nullify affirmative action policies for college admissions, the suppression of women's rights, that ongoing effort to disenfranchise citizens and silent voices, the loud discourse in our nation illuminating the struggles in our public schools, and how COVID has impacted the social development and the outcomes of our children. We are grappling with global warming. We are dealing with workforce shortfalls. We are dealing with housing deserts. We are dealing with an uptick in addiction and alcohol abuse. These indicators only remind us that we must continue the movement. And as leaders, we are called to action. We must acknowledge there's the Sankofa spirit in each of us and accept the call to action and take up our collective efforts towards the realization of King's dream. We are in a time when political differences overshadow bipartisanship, straining our progress as a nation. But today, I optimistically stand before you offering a brilliant light of hope, right? Flora talked about that hope, right? My audacity of hope is rooted in King's dream towards a modern day revolutionary movement focused on our schools, our children, and our future. One that can serve to bridge discourse. One that can dim the fire. One that can grow love. One that can stop dissension. That hope is in our schools, our children, and our future. One such moment arises when we consider the remarkable span of the past 60 years of a movement, right? Spent and launched in a moment. I stand before you to say, I know we can all agree. Can we agree, Senator Buxton? Can we agree, Lieutenant Governor? Can we agree, City Councilman Bogarty? Can we agree that it is our collective moral imperative that we all support schools? And what happens to our children?
Most definitely.
To safeguard the future of our nation. While remembering Dr. Martin Luther King, many remember the intoxicating undertones of his speech. But I stand here sober before you to say, as a community, our work is not done. So as we commemorate the March on Washington and the movement, not just the moment, I urge you to look with me through the lens of Marian Wright Elderman. And she said this. She was the founding president of the Children's Defense Fund. And like so many of us here today, she believed that we need our business leaders, our public servants, we need our educators, we need our faith-based community, we need our parents, we need our grandparents, we need everyone in our community and the future generations to help us in our efforts to realize Dr. King's dream by ending the epidemic mental, physical, and spiritual poverty afflicting millions of children in America.
Yes, it is.
She said this, quote, "So much of America's tragic and costly failure to care for all its children stems from our tendency to distinguish between our own children and other people's children, as if justice was divisible," unquote. So today, I want to challenge each of you to help validate the movement by adopting a Sankofa spirit when it comes to all agreeing that we can find common ground. We can find common ground when it comes to our schools, our children, and our future, right?
Yes.
We can adopt a Sankofa spirit, remember? Using the past to create an extraordinary present and future, right? We can stand on the shoulders of those who marched with King. We can pick up the mantle of those who passed it to us, right? And we can come together as a shining beacon of light to support, I'm going to say it again, our schools, our children, and our future.
Yes.
Through a Sankofa spirit, we can all champion King's dream. Again, by agreeing that we each do something to advance democracy in our nation. By ensuring that access to a high-quality education is accessible in our schools, for our children. Isn't this what will safeguard our future?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I believe this is King's dream.
Yes, it is. We gotta keep it.
So if you could help me by standing up, I put some pledges on everyone's table. And today we're taking a pledge to adopt the spirit of Sankofa as it pertains to our schools and our children and our future. I think everyone here would agree that education is one of the most pressing 21st century civil rights issues that we all have a collective moral imperative to advance. And so we're going to take this pledge because I like to give pledges. I just do.
We did this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we did.
Right.
We like pledges. And so I'll say the line and then you'll repeat after me. Today I pledge to accept my part in pressing 21st century civil rights issues that we all have a collective moral imperative to advance. And so we're going to take this pledge because I like to give pledges. I just do.
We did this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we did.
Right.
We like pledges. And so I'll say the line and then you'll repeat after me. Today I pledge to accept my part.
Today I pledge to accept my part.
To edify compassionate actions.
To edify compassionate actions.
In advocating for. Our schools. Our children. And our future. In this moment. I recommit to advance. The movement of justice. By recommitting to helping. Our schools. Our children. And our future. As a leader. I pledge to embrace humility. And accept responsibility. For the things that I can do. To advance a spirit of Sankofa. For the betterment of. Our schools. Our children. And our future. Give yourselves a round of applause. I'm going to wrap this up really quickly because it's me that's standing in between you and the dance floor. And so I think it's important this year as we commemorated the 60 years, Stacey Abrams, she said this, quote, "This conversation that we are having has been Okay, let me reiterate that. Stacey Abrams said this. The conversation that we have been having for 60 years is about what we are marching towards, who we are marching for, and what we are marching with. King did not simply march, he worked. He did not simply talk, he did. And he did not simply dream, he became, unquote. And so as I am asking each person here today to use your voice, use your passion, use your resources, use your time, and help our schools. Please do not indict educators, because when we have your consideration and your support together, we can do things to successfully fulfill King's dream and advance extraordinary outcomes in our schools, for our children, and for our future. By committing to a Sankofa spirit that can usher our nation into the realization of King's dream. Launched in a moment as we continue the movement. Now finally, I will end with this quote that will drive my service to this community during the 2023-24 school year. And it is, of course, from Marian Wright Elderman. And she says this, quote, "It is a time for greatness, not greed. It is a time for idealism, not ideology. It is a time not just for compassionate words, but for compassionate actions." Thank you so much for your support. Have a great evening.
Wow. Just wow, just wow.